Hey everybody, it's Scott again, back with another video. And the topic of this video is going to be scale, right? Scale. What does scale mean? Scale is a big word. And it means a lot to many, many different people. But in the course of my consulting, my advisory work, one of the topics that I get quite a bit, or something I deal with quite a bit, is scaling a business. Most of us naturally want to scale. There are, very, very few businesses that don't want to scale. I run across very few people that say, I've maxed out. I don't want to go over $1 million a month. It's not what I want. It'd be interesting to find someone like that because they might be smarter than you and I in terms of not taking on additional responsibilities. But in almost every case, people want to scale. And, scaling could be that you're getting your first sale. So it could be scaling from 0 sales to 1 sale. That's scale. Scaling could be, how do you go from 1 sale a day to 5 sales a day? Scaling could be, how do I go from 1,000 to 5,000 sales a day? So scaling really is a personal question, and it relates to you and where you're at in the business currently, right? And where you want to go. So where you want to get to. And most entrepreneurs have an idea, and generally scale relates to like a top line number, right? So they say, my business did $100,000 last year. I want to see if I could scale it to $200,000 for the year. Or my business did $1 million last month. How do I scale it to $2 million a month? And what I'll tell you is that scaling is really interesting because the skill set that is required to scale something from 0 to 1 is very, very, very different than, say, scaling from 1,000 sales a day to 2,000 sales a day, or going from $0 in revenue to 27, your first digital sale, or going from $1 million a month to $2 million a month. The skill sets required are radically different, right? So we all know that giving birth to a product, getting it out of its infancy and giving it life and getting some sales, there's a lot of work around that. But what I'll tell you is that the work involved in doing that is significantly different than scaling from, say, $1 million a month to $2 million a month. At that point, entirely different skill sets are required. You're talking about, in that scenario, hiring teams and dealing with uh, accounting and finance and insurance and different issues. And it requires you to be quite a bit different of an entrepreneur when you get to that scale. You may have gotten this thing off on your own, basically with your own team, but I can tell you that there's very few teams that can go from like getting to $1 million requires people. So now you're recruiting people, you're hiring people, you're motivating people, you're developing SOPs, standard operating procedures. You're doing things like ensuring that there's 0 points of failure, single points of failure. So what I'm telling you is that there's very, very, very different skill sets required at each stage of the game. Now, I've had the good fortune of scaling a business up to 150 million bucks. So even my limitations of scale end somewhere. I've never taken a business to 200, 300, 500 million bucks a year. I have friends that have, and I would even argue that that's a very different skill set that maybe I don't even have, right? So the first thing to think about in terms of scale is taking an assessment of where you're at now. What do your current sales look like? What's your volume look like? And then asking yourself the question, where is it that I want to take this business? And normally that relates to a dollar amount. So again, if you're sitting at 100K a month and your goal, so 1.2 million a year, and your goal is to get to 5, right? Think about the steps it's going to take to get you to 5. And we can talk about that in later videos, but it's a really different skill set than what it was to take you from 0 to 1. And you may not be the right person to do it, actually. You may not be the right person to scale it to, 100 million bucks. So that's something you should also look at as well. Anyway, scale is a really, really big topic, and we could probably speak about this for hours, but I would encourage you to think about where you're at now, what your goals are, where do you want to take the business, and then think about reverse engineering the entire process of how you get to where you want to go. And that usually involves products, number of products. Can a single product scale to that level where you want to go? People, are you able to do this entire business on your own? Or do you need to hire a staff? And what systems do you have in place to ensure that you have no single points of failure? It's building out teams, it's building out a customer service team, it's building out customer retention teams. So Look, a lot goes into this stuff, but I would encourage you to start thinking thoughtfully about some of these topics if scaling is something that's in your future. Anyway, I hope that helped, and I'll be doing a lot more of these videos down the road. I hope this has been somewhat helpful for you. Thanks.